Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel US Immigration News. We hope you are doing great. Well, in today's video, we will be talking about Donald Trump has promised a mass deportation. It would cost billions.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, US Immigration News. We hope you're doing great. Well, in today's video, we will be talking about Donald Trump has promised a mass deportation. It would cost billions. Donald Trump's latest campaign promise of a mass deportation of undocumented immigrants would be one of the most sweeping immigration actions in U.S. history at a staggering cost of billions. While aimed at tightening border security, the financial, logistical, and societal impacts of such a plan raise serious questions about its feasibility and long-term effects. If you are interested in this, so to get all the information, pay attention and watch the video through to the end. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. So, without any further delay, let's jump into the video. If he returns to the White House, Donald Trump has vowed to launch a mass deportation of at least 11 million immigrants living in the United States without authorization. He made a similar promise during his first administration. It didn't pan out after he hit logistical and legal obstacles. This time, experts say things may be different. A second, more experienced Trump administration will know how to effectively use an enormous bureaucracy to their advantage, said Cesar Garcia Hernandez, an Ohio State University law professor and author of Migrating to Prison: America's Obsession with Locking Up Immigrants. There will be fewer legal obstacles too. Trump appointed hundreds of judges during his first term, reshaping the courts that previously slowed or stopped his attempts to ramp up immigration enforcement. The ramp-up is doable if a second Trump administration takes a steroid-infused, whole-of-government approach, said Mark Morgan, who served as acting commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection under Trump. The priorities will stay the same going after convicted criminals, Morgan said. However, nobody is off limits. And if Trump wins a second term, experts say, public opinion may be on his side to do things Americans objected to before, like separating immigrant parents from their children in order to prosecute the adults. A new USA Today Suffolk University poll found 45% of respondents support Trump's mass deportation proposal and 49% oppose it, with 4% undecided. The poll of 1,000 likely voters, taken by landline and cell phone audit, 14 to 18, has a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1 percentage points. Trump hasn't released detailed plans for a mass deportation, but a USA Today review of interviews and speeches by Trump and his former advisors and administrators indicate he intends to A. 1. Use emergency and executive authorities to bypass existing law, which includes protections for immigrants. B. 2. Activate provisions under a law from the 1700s called the Alien Enemies Act, which was used to detain people of Japanese, German, and Italian descent in World War II. C. 3. Rely on local and state police, especially in like-minded Republican districts, to find and arrest immigrants in the country without permission. B. 4. Employ the U.S. military and National Guard in immigration enforcement. E. 5. Redirect federal employees and resources to support the effort. A mass deportation of 1 million people per year could cost $88 billion annually, according to the nonpartisan American Immigration Council. It would require an unprecedented ramp-up of law enforcement staffing, detention capacity, immigration courtrooms, and flight capacity. Who would Trump deport? Pew Research estimates there are 11 million immigrants in the United States without authorization. The vast majority don't have a criminal conviction, and their individual situations can vary dramatically, from the asylum seekers who crossed the border to people who flew in on a tourist visa and overstayed. Among them are some 1.3 million immigrants who have already been issued removal orders but remain in the country, said Kathleen Bush Joseph, policy analyst at the Nonpartisan Migration Policy Institute. That's partly due to a lack of immigration and customs enforcement officers, a lack of airplane capacity, and the fact that some countries won't take people back, she said. People with existing removal orders could be targeted first, as could the hundreds of thousands of immigrants who are in jail on local or state criminal charges, said Stephen Camarota, director of research for the Center for Immigration Studies. That is the low-hanging fruit, he said. All the people who get picked up under Secure Communities, a program that connected, under the Obama administration, local law enforcement jurisdictions with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement database. ICE reported that, in July, there were more than 660,000 non-citizens with criminal histories on its docket. Of the 11 million, more than half are people who came legally but overstayed their visas, according to the Center for Migration Studies. Others crossed the border illegally years ago. They may have married as citizens and may also have citizen children and could be eligible, at some point, for legal status. There are also hundreds of thousands of beneficiaries of temporary programs that could disappear with the stroke of a presidential pen. On a practical level, Garcia Hernandez said, The Trump camp seems intent on expanding the pool of people who they target for potential removal from the United States to millions of people, including people who have the federal government's permission to be in the United States. Another 530,000 immigrants, who arrived as children when their parents crossed the border illegally, benefit from a temporary status called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, according to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Trump tried to abolish the program, which began under the Obama administration. But the Supreme Court, which was then more liberal, blocked him. Dragnet operations how the government would find immigrants to deport. The immediate challenge to a mass deportation would be identifying and locating the millions of immigrants here without legal status who aren't on the government's rosters. Trump has said state and local law enforcement officers could help federal authorities. The federal government can tap into the greater intelligence community to put together targeting packages, Morgan said. That effort would likely be led by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection's National Targeting Center. Homeland security agencies, including the FBI and U.S. Marshals, could participate, he said. Do immigrants have the same rights as citizens? Immigrants accused of being in the country illegally have constitutional rights. For example, the Supreme Court has repeatedly held that the government can't deport people without giving them due process or the opportunity to tell a court why they should legally be allowed to stay. Immigrants here without authorization also have the same basic rights as other defendants in criminal proceedings, including the right to a lawyer, the right against unreasonable searches, the right to remain silent, and the right against cruel and unusual punishment. You can't just take people off the street, put them in a jail, on an airplane and send them abroad, said Charles Cook, an immigration lawyer. That's not to say immigrants without authorization enjoy all the same rights in practice. Emergency authorities can also waive some rights. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Trump invoked a public health law from the 1940s known as Title 42. The emergency authority allowed both his and the Biden administration to quickly return migrants to Mexico or their home country without giving them a chance to make a claim to stay. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported more than 2.7 million migrant expulsions at the southwest border between 2020 and 2023. Ken Cuccinelli, who served as acting Deputy Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security under Trump and is a senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America, said immigrants with deportation orders have limited rights. When it comes to the deportation process, illegal aliens legally do not have the same rights that an American accused of a crime, has Cuccinelli said. How would Trump detain people awaiting deportation? To put the scale of an operation to deport 11 million people into context, there were 1.2 million prisoners held in all of the country's state and federal prisons in 2022, according to the Federal Bureau of Justice Statistics. Likewise, foreign governments must agree to accept deportees. Those negotiations can take time or fail. Some countries, including China and Venezuela, have in the past refused to take back their citizens. The American Immigration Council estimates the country would have to maintain 1,000 new immigration courtrooms and expand ICE's detention capacity 24-fold to house all the people awaiting hearings. Old law, new application, the Alien Enemies Act. Trump said he would invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to hasten deportations. The Republican Party embraced Trump's plan in its platform, citing the law to justify removing known or suspected immigrant gang members, drug dealers, or cartel members under the premise that their presence amounts to an invasion by a foreign government. The courts could reject giving the president what are arguably only wartime powers over migration. However, courts have sometimes refused to second-guess a presidential administration's judgment about what constitutes an invasion or held that presidents have the final say. Catherine Ebright, a lawyer who studies war powers at the Brennan Center for Justice, said the Alien Enemies Act is based on identity as a foreign citizen, not conduct or legal status. It doesn't matter as long as you have that birth heritage or citizenship of the so-called foreign belligerent, Ebright said. There is another potential role for the military, said Morgan, in the logistics of detention. Military installations around the country could provide space for detaining immigrants, particularly non-violent offenders and families, he said. We detain them in family residential centers with all the medical care and amenities, as we're going through the removal process to remove them to their country as a family, Morgan said. The military can help with those kinds of facilities. A history of deportation efforts, but no president has ever tallied more deportations than President Barack Obama, who at the peak in 2012 removed more than 407,000 people, according to Syracuse's Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse. In total, his 8-year administration logged more than 3.1 million ICE deportations. Trump's call for a mass deportation may appeal to some voters, but the billions in costs and potential disruptions it entails make it a complex issue. As Election Day nears, Americans are left to consider the true impact of such a sweeping immigration proposal on both the economy and communities across the nation. That is all for today in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully the information is useful to you. See you later in the next video. Till then, take care.
If re-elected, Donald Trump has a pledge to undertake a mass deportation of over 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Though he made a similar promise during his first term, he faced significant logistical and legal hurdles. However, experts suggest that a second Trump administration, more experienced and strategically positioned, might navigate these obstacles more effectively. Cesar Garcia Hernandez, an Ohio State University law professor, notes that the current judiciary, reshaped by Trump's judicial appointments, may be less resistant to his proposal. Trump's deportation plan would require an aggressive cross-agency collaboration, including local and state police, as well as federal resources like the military and National Guard. Former Trump officials, including Mark Morgan, former acting CBP commissioner, foresee a wall of a government strategy to identify and deport individuals, beginning with those who have a criminal record or exciting deportation order. Public opinion on this issue is nearly split. A recent USA Today, a Suffolk University poll found that 45% of respondents support Trump's mass deportation plan, while 49% oppose it. Trump has hinted at using executive powers and emergency laws, such as the 1798 Alien Aliens Act, to expedite deportation and bypass certain legal protections for immigrants. The logistical challenges of deporting millions would be immense, according to the American Immigration Council. Deporting 1 million people per year could cost up to $88 billion annually, necessitating a massive increase in detention facilities, immigration courtrooms, and law enforcement personnel. Immigration detention capacity, currently budgeted to hold 34,000 people daily, would need to expand dramatically. Trump's plan to speed up deportations may rely on a military basis as a temporary detention sites, a move that would further increase military involvement. Trump's strategy would target various groups, including the approximately 1.3 million immigrants with exciting removal orders, those with a criminal record, and beneficiaries of temporary programs like DACA and temporary protected status. Trump's plan also includes proposals to intensify identification and enforcement of operations through data sharing across federal, state, and local agencies, despite potential civil rights concerns regarding profiling and evidence reliability. While Trump cites historical precedents such as Alice Wars' 1954 deportation efforts, the scale and the complexity of this proposed operation would be unprecedented in a modern US history. Critics argue that this sweeping deportation strategy, with its potential for massive social and economic disruption, raises serious questions about the human and financial cost. As Trump proposed policies still debate among voters, the nation is left to weigh the practical and moral implication of such an ambitious immigration enforcement agenda.